just another quiet week in the world of Celtic. Never a dull moment with this team. I feel like I'm saying that every week now. Yes, we've got a lot to get through tonight, a lot of meat on the bone to chew over. So yes, it's going to be a busy one tonight, but it is still Friday, and it is just after 9 o'clock. And as we always say, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling. Domestic football is back. The international break is over. And yeah, it's Celtic for the foreseeable future for the next 5 months or something like that. So it is it's wall-to-wall games. But yes, we'll be looking ahead to the game against St Mirren tomorrow night. That is on the agenda tonight. We will recap the international break as well, because there was a lot of Celtic stories there, a lot of differing fortunes for some of our players that were on international duty. So we'll be focusing on that and what it could mean for them going forward as well this season. It might help some of them kick on. Other ones, Kasper Schmeichel, we might be asking a few more questions of him. And yes, we'll look at that. And yes, obviously the elephant in the room, we shall talk about the AGM and give our opinions on that. Obviously, we had a pre-record, went on just half an hour ago as well. Conor had recorded a CARRMAGEDDON episode, so be sure to check that out as well, where he gives his unfiltered and unapologetic opinions on Dermot Desmond and so on. So be sure to check all of that out as well, folks. And yeah, before we go any further, then let's introduce the panel. For the second week in a row, it's the same triple threat of Tim's. But of course, it is Friday night, and tradition dictates that he must be here. He is Canada's favourite Tim, and he's a beard of knowledge, and he's a wise man of the bus, and he's looking forward to potentially welcoming the Tartan Army next summer. He says his couch is available for £1,000 a week, apparently, to anybody that fancies it. Liam, how are you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm good. I mean, what a week for high and lows. Usually a week where I'm struggling to, find any joy watching Scotland or something, and just looking forward to Celtic coming back. It was reversed this week. I could have watched another Scotland game this week. I mean, the first one was brutal, but just the feel-good factor and all that. I've been floating around high as a kite for 2 days. People coming up to me just know me as being Scottish here in Vancouver, and coming up and just, so brilliant, Scotland's in the World Cup, and hope they end up in Vancouver. And I said, I care what you wish for. But anyway, we had a great Vancouver Tartan Army. Basically set up in the Celtic Supporters Club, which is unusual in most cities. And we had a great time, absolutely brilliant time. And then today, I'm just watching AGM. Seems to have went no bad.
I went swimmingly. I just...
What could possibly go wrong? Not much of your time, Liam, that's for sure.
Oh my God! I mean, carry on.
Absolutely unbelievable. I'd say you just when you think in your head a scenario of how it could have went, and we'll get into it very, very soon. But that wasn't really on my bingo card of how that was going to go down today. That was even more extreme than what I thought it would be. But before we get to that, Johnny, how are you doing tonight? Nowhere exotic tonight? Just
nowhere exotic tonight, mate. No, I have to wait till next week for that. I'm fine there. I'm a bit like Liam, had a good week, watched the Scotland game, as I said to you before we went live there, rather unconventionally, when I was out at my stepdaughter's for a pre-arranged night out, and we're having a meal, and I've got the phone sitting next to my beer glass with the Scotland game on, the volume down, and the wife's looking at me and said, "You're going to turn that off?" I went, No, you're lucky I'm here, never mind anything else, I'm watching it. But to be honest with you, I was all geared up for another anybody of my age is well used to Scotland's glorious failures that we've had over the past, whether it be getting to competitions or actually at competitions. But as I said to you, Philip, it really took me back to 73 when we qualified for the first time since, what was it? I think you said to me, was it the 50s?
Scotland didn't get to a World Cup in the 60s, so it had to be in the 50s.
And the whole feeling around the country. I mean, I was probably just 10, maybe just turned 11 at the time, and it was just, my memory was playing tricks on me. I had it in my head that we'd beat the Czech Republic 2-1, and big Jim Holton had scored, but it wasn't, obviously. It was Jordan, Hartford and Dalglish, but yeah, so it really took me back to that and reminded me of that, and it was just great. And to say it was unexpected would be an understatement, like, you know, especially when I was watching it. And there was, I can't remember, it was either just before the guy got sent off or just after. They put a graphic up on saying Scotland had one attempt. I think it was
17 shots for Denmark. Yeah.
I remember it was one attempt on goal or one attempt or whatever it was on target, and one Denmark 17. And I thought, we're at fucking home. And I said to my brother-in-law, I said, that's fucking pathetic, absolutely ridiculous. And then it all just went mental.
Mad, just a mental game of football. A shining light this week, and what's turning into a bit of a turbulent week right now. But hopefully Celtic can get it back on track this weekend for the St Mirren tomorrow night through Paisley. But yeah, we'll get on to talking about that and everything else in a few moments. So of course, folks, just remember to do all that good stuff as well and help the channel out massively. We are still on the upward trajectory. We're still growing really well. And it's thanks to all you who hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. So remember to do that tonight. Hitting the like button helps us out with the traction, gets us more recommendations to people on YouTube and their on their accounts if they like Celtic content, podcast content. They're more likely to pop up. Obviously, hit the subscribe button if you discover us as well in the next few days and like the cut of our jib. Then by all means, keep us in your life that wee bit longer. Remember, the bell notification is your best friend, and it will notify you when we're on the road. And also, you can get involved in the comment section tonight. It's a busy one so far, so let me give some shout outs to who is in at the moment. So Ian McIntosh is here, Jim C is here, Brown Warrior, Joe Henry is here, Stephen Murdoch is here for 20 somewhere, has just also renewed his membership, which is something else you can do as well for $1.99 a month and get a virtual Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube. What could you want? I mean, come on, the value. Chris M is in as well, Graham Martin is here, Smell the Glove, Graham Tyrrell, Patrick McLaughlin. Who else have we got? Sligo Boy is also here. The Boy Dog Hector is here. James Kennedy, Ryan Rafferty, as I said, it's a busy one. 66 Kev 1 is also here. Who else have I not shouted out? Smell the Glove, if I shouted him out, I'm shouting out again anyway. Chris Murray. See, very, very busy one so far. So yeah, keep getting involved with us tonight, guys. Let us know your opinions on the many subjects tonight, because it's going to be I can see another one going well over an hour tonight, boys. And what else can you do? So if you like audio content, if you like to catch up via audio, if you haven't got time to sit down in front of your computer, watch us on the TV, whatever, then you can catch up on SoundCloud by subscribing on there. The link is in the description below. And just remember to share the link of Far and Wide on Twitter. If you see us tweeting about a show, then hit the retweet button and spread awareness of the channel. And yes, all that good stuff out the way. Let's get into it, guys, because oh my God, this is insane what's happened today. So, to give you my mindset, Liam, how I thought today was going to go in the run-up to the AGM, knowing that this was coming, because obviously the tension's been building for a few months, but in the back of my head, I was like, well, the AGM's always in November. That's going to be the best and probably the first real chance that fans are going to get, to be up close to the board and really let them know how they feel. But going into today, I thought this is probably how I think that it's going to play out, similar to last year and maybe a couple of years before. There'll be a few stories about maybe some fans who might get removed because they asked an uncomfortable question or they were a wee bit rowdy. Ultimately, fans will go there with the best intentions to really stick it to the board, but in the end come away from it a bit frustrated because it felt like nothing happened. The board will just hit them with the usual spin, just be like, yes, but we do this and we do that and whatnot, and they just try and deflect away from it. And that's how I thought it would go. Just thought it would be just a run-of-the-mill AGM that we seem to have every year. And no, it didn't even get to the point where the fans could really ask anything because it got called early. Obviously, red cards were shown to the board as they walked in. They were booed. And it just descended into an absolute farce, to put it lightly. And yeah, we are no further forward. And yeah, just try to pick up the pieces and say right now, it's just a bit of a train wreck, really. Liam, what was your initial thoughts when you heard how it went down?
Well, I woke up this morning and sort of the meeting had already been over. By the time I checked my phone, I went onto our WhatsApp group and just saw Terry posting 5 minutes. 5 minutes is basically all it lasted. And I went on and I found through different media channels, I found some of the footage of it as well. Most specifically, Ross Desmond's speech or letter that he read from his father. And the fact that that was a printed letter meant that he was reading that anyway, regardless of the red cards, regardless of the boos. They wanted to start off that he had a grudge to bear, that, my God, somehow billionaires now have feelings, that we are supposed to now be really feeling bad because, you know, we might have hurt the billionaires' feelings. You know, and I'm sure they're getting some stick and all that as well, but it's completely justified. This is about communication and it's about respect. And we've had a lack of both from this club. We've had no communication and there's certainly no respect for the fans. I mean, that thing that he read, that was just pure venom. That was venom just spitting out there. That was like somebody just real hatred for what went on. It's like how the Hunter Biden talking about this, you know, people slagging Joe Biden and all that. And for all of them, the amount of times that we've been on podcasts where we've said, well, maybe it'll get different when Dermot Desmond passes it down to his son Ross. Absolutely not. I think it will just get worse. I came across as an entitled. It's exactly what I expected a billionaire's kid to look like. Somebody who's been given something his entire life to sit there and tell us as supporters that we're no proper Celtic fans, that we are not doing what we should be to the club, that we're too alarmed or whatever it was, that we shouldn't be holding him up to any scrutiny whatsoever. I think it was a slap in the face, and I think when you look at it, I think this is going to really backfire on them, because this wasn't just the Green Brigade or the boys. I think this was the collective fan base, not even the Celtic Trust, but I think everybody out there just sort of the sense of entitlement, everything about them. Even this, it really annoys me that they wear all the same suits. Like, they're a more unified team than us. They've got the suits and the ties and everything. They're all dressed the same. Oh, man, I'm sure we pay for it as well. I'm sure they're not coming out of their pocket. And it just left me with that good feeling I had about football at the beginning of this week ended. I really hoped that they were going to come out and there was a chance to maybe sort of bring some clarity. The fact that we are not even talking to Brother Walfred, as we christened last week, Johnny, it just goes to show you, I think they really had a preconceived agenda that, okay, right, boys, if this goes off the roads, first of all, it looked like they were playing for time. I mean, we should have had a yellow card before the red, because it looked like they were, you know, just pissing about, trying to extend this as long as they probably could. The 30-minute break, then coming back, and all that would be taking out the question time, where they wanted it so that they were looking for a chance to shut this down, say what they needed to say, gauge the fans' reaction, knowing it would be volatile, and then use that as a way like, oh no, we're the bigger men here. We're the adults in the room. I'm the teacher, Peter Lowell, and walk away because you're being hysterical, you're being it's just poor bits, but not entirely surprising. I don't think there's anybody surprised at all out there the way that this board behaved. You know, I just finished watching Conor on the bus earlier, and any of the viewers out there, get a chance, go and watch Conor's Carnage carpool as well, because I think he, you know, and that's a young guy. He's not seen it as long as I've seen it, you know, and even he's done with it, you know, and it's, I don't know where it goes from here. I think it's only going to get worse and worse. And the fact that they're now making this police issues, kicking people's doors in, all that sort of stuff, is like, Peter Lowell, you're just a Keir Starmer wannabe. I thought you wanted to be Boris Johnson. I think he wants to be both. You know?
Oh, I'm glad you brought some of the points you brought up there, Liam, because you're along the same line of thinking as me, and I think Johnny's also in the same boat, because it did reek a bit of they wanted it to go that way, Johnny. If you believe in conspiracy theories and get the old tinfoil hat on, they wanted it to go down this way. And I'll give a shout out as well, because I read this on Twitter today to Russell Bhoys that said this on Twitter, his observation. And when I went back and watched it, I was like, he's right, by the way. Russell says when you actually watch Peter Lawwell at the end, when he's wrapping the meeting up, it looks like he's reading it off a piece of paper. It looks like he's got a piece of paper, and that just shows you if he is, then yeah, they have been anticipating that, and they've had all that preempted. And yeah, Johnny, say Liam and me are definitely in the same boat, and I think you are as well. They wanted to go away because the pissing about, as Liam said, with we're going to play all these videos at the start, and people were in the room saying, "Get to the next point. You know, we want to move it along a wee bit." And then obviously they had the adjournment. Came back, still wanted to show videos and piss about, and it will end at 12:30. We will not extend it beyond there. They didn't want to be grilled about who the new manager is and what you're going to do to spruce up the stadium. So it basically they played a blinder from their point of view of how they wanted it to go, Johnny. It fell right into their lap.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, like say, I didn't see it going well, to be fair. I didn't see it going the way it did. But I think it definitely went exactly the way the board wanted it to go. Like you said, Liam, the pre-written letter from Desmond Jr. was, I mean, some of the things he was saying was fucking ridiculous. For example, I mean, I haven't watched it all. I've watched little bits and snippets of it, but the bit where he talks about how we've been in Europe since
2003.
2003.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking we've been fucking gash in Europe. I mean, like say, I'm 63, and for more than two thirds of my life, Celtic have been crap in Europe. And the best we've been in Europe was when I was really only just barely old enough to remember it. You know, the very late 60s and the 70s and a little bit of decent stuff in the 80s. But apart from that, we've been absolute crap. And he talks about, I was watching somebody and they were talking about the punching over our financial weight, something now and again. And it breaks my heart to say this, like, but there's another team in Glasgow who've been punching above their financial weight. Maybe not in the competition that we want to punch our financial weight in, but they've been punching above their financial weight in the Europa League for the last 4 or 5 years. And they've even been to a final. And yet he's saying we shouldn't expect us to be doing anything in Europe and be happy with we nearly took Bayern to extra time. Ring a ding ding, like, you know, once in 20 years. But just not good enough. But that was set up, that was stage managed almost to perfection by the Celtic board, I think, from the bits I've seen in it. They knew what they wanted to do. And I'll ask any married man in this watching this, have you ever won a fight with the missus when it's deteriorated into a pure slagging match? No, you fucking haven't. And that's how they orchestrated that to go today into a slagging match, and then just a case of, fuck it, we're off and gone. No questions asked, no questions answered.
No.
We're no further forward. Trenches are getting dug even deeper. And it's going to be hard enough under normal circumstances to get rid of this board, because it's not like back in the 90s when the board were devoid of ideas, devoid of ability, and devoid of money. This lot aren't devoid of the money. That £77 million or £80 million in the bank is keeping them as safe as houses as things stand at the minute. Because there's no bank coming and saying, we're going to foreclose you here now because we're going to call your debt in. Because there is no debt. So where do we go from here? We're going to need guys with a lot deeper pockets than the guys who are there have at the minute.
Yeah.
Who are also willing to empty those deeper pockets of about however many hundreds of millions it would cost. So I really don't know where we're going to go from here, because it's going to be a battle of attrition, shall we say. It's going to take a long time.
As I realise,
you know, I'm not saying anything that's not been said on this pod, on any other pod I've watched. We're selling the silverware, and we're not even buying stainless steel cutlery to replace it.
That's good.
Bill, can I just add something to what you
Sure,
said?
of course.
One of the things that stood out to me, if you watch that again and you watch Ross Desmond reading that letter, and he's looking at, and anytime when there's interruptions, you could see him looking there at Peter Lowell. And it was like, are you going to do something? Is that the cue? And I think it was like they were waiting for that disruption to sort of just end it.
Well, Liam, do you think Lowell bailed him out just at the crucial point? Because he got to a point in the statement where he's reading out his dad's words, and the final line he read out was, "I know I'm putting my target on my back when I say this," and then he got cut off there. So I don't know if it was the way that it was the last line of the statement summing up the full thing, saying, "I know I put a target on my back by saying what he's all just said," or was there another line about to be dropped? And Lowell stepped in at that point and went, "Oh, no, hold on," and obviously called it. So it looked like he was reading off a piece of paper. If you actually look at it, so it does make it a little bit more mysterious. And also, Johnny, there's a few things that you picked up on there. The European thing that they mentioned, to say from 2003 and to stick up for it, Rangers have been in 2 European finals since then, 2008 and in 2022. I am amazed that in the very short time that they actually spoke at any point during today, and the total farce it was, they still managed to get a subtle dig in at Rangers because they just had to, didn't they? They just had to do it. Where they talked about teams that overspend. We've seen the dangers of that. And I think as well, the line about punching above their weight was aimed at them, but in a way, they've kind of praised them a wee bit by doing that because, yeah, they have punched above their weight. Fair play to them if they've done it. But we've pointed out plenty of times in the last few years, European record after Christmas time, not won a knockout game since 2004. And it's like, well, them getting to have 2 finals since the last time we won a knockout game, yes, that's a real stat. It's like, that's not helping their case at all because we are perceived to be the dominant team. But yeah, for whatever reason, to try and, stick up for it. And again, they've done this in statements they've put out recently, grouping all European football together. We've competed in group stages and European football for the last 20-something years, but Europa League, Champions League, there is a bit of a difference and all of that. But one of the things, Liam, that really stuck in my craw was the line about these people who are criticising their only vocation in life. And basically, it was, it basically called us all, the people who are criticising jobless and are not allowed an opinion in this because they're not sitting at this table and they're not doing this job, saying, that's their only vocation in life, to just basically disrupt us and criticise us. And, the people at this table work so hard for the best outcomes for Celtic. And for me, that was one of the crassest comments without a shadow of a doubt to go down that route. Unbelievable, Liam.
If I'm anti-establishment, I'll wear that with pride. I mean, one of the reasons I supported Celtic was because I've always been anti-establishment. I had every opportunity in my life pointed me towards supporting Rangers. But when I grew up to have a voice and, and growing up the same area as Johnny, we listening to guys like Joe Strummer and, John Linden and all that. Yeah, I was very much anti-establishment. And I still am. And for them to come out that way, I mean, anti-establishment, well, what are they doing as the establishment? Busting into people's houses, banning fans. Like, everything they do is all to just sort of shy away from any sort of self-criticism of, or just being accountable to what's actually going on. It's weird, I try to explain this to people here in Canada about what's going on. I said, well, you should be happy. You're winning the league nearly every year. It's only COVID year you never won it.
Yeah,
that's no it. Celtic's much bigger than that. And that whole anti-establishment vibe, well, that's part of it. That's what I liked about Celtic. I seen the difference. I was very close to Rangers, very close to Celtic. We were pals and family. What I liked about Celtic was we had that anti-establishment, that we were the rebels, that we would go against the grain, but also speak out for things that we've seen as not being right and stand up for each other. I go to bars, we see people coming on holiday to Canada and just other clubs I've been in as well too. People come over from Scotland, Ireland, anywhere that supports Celtic, and you're immediately brought in. Everybody comes over and says, hello, how you doing? I'll go down to Seattle Seahawks games, or I've been back to see Toronto Maple Leafs and stuff like that. It's nowhere near the same. It's nowhere near the same because we're a family. Not because they tell us we are, or they come out with a marketing campaign or a T-shirt or something that says we're family. No, we're family because we choose to be a family. and they are so unattached with us. They are the reasons they wear all the suits, the same suits, is because it's always annoyed me. They're on the same team. That's their team, and they don't support Celtic. They support each other, and of course they're going to protect their high salaries. They're going to protect themselves being in that velvet room, and of course they're going to try and paint us as the enemy. That somehow, what was that again? What was it you said that he called us again?
He said,
yeah, well, like
it was the only vocation these people. Well, basically, the only vocation is to attack us. Just basically they're jobless. Essentially, they just sit around without a job and just criticise the club and whatnot. That was essentially what he was saying. They're looking down his nose at us a wee bit. It did feel a bit like, if you watch anything that Donald Trump says, the way Trump talks about Antifa and the left, and he talks about them being agitators and disruptors, and that's all they do. It very much felt like something like that, and I was like, oh dear, this is not a good look, Celtic. Honestly, what he's doing.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. I mean, Peter Lowell to me seems to have a. So I went and listened to one podcast after it. It wasn't theirs. I think it was the Cynic or something. I wanted to listen. They had 3 people that are actually at the AGM, and it was really interesting to hear their perspective because they were at the front, and some of them had dealt with Lowell before. And one of the things that came out in that podcast was what a short fuse he has. That he's a man from 0 to 10 ballistically, very quickly. That he doesn't have a lot of patience, and he does anger easy. And what I seen today looked like a headmaster that was very angered easy. And not just a self-appointed headmaster. Remember, this was a guy that was coming in that wasn't really going to have any involvement with the club. He was just here to help steady the ship and stuff like that. I looked at him today, calling the meeting, all that stuff. He looked very heavily involved with the club. There was a couple of things as well where they said, I think it was on the Cynic, that, was it? He, at one point, he muttered something. They were close enough that you could hear him, and he said something, well, the board's not doing too bad. And they framed that as like, well, we went from, first class and everything we do to not too bad. Well, I don't think we've even hit not too bad yet. And the fact that they are, and this case I'll back up Brendan Rodgers at this point. I don't really like Brendan Rodgers, didn't like him as a coach, didn't like him as a man. But he was right, cowards. And it would be funny, this would be a very, very interesting time, because Rodgers got absolutely slaughtered with Dermot Desmond's and that other poison letter that he got, right? It'd be a very good time now for maybe Rodgers to speak up.
And might now be the time,
and just come out and show a little bit of clarity there and just sort of side with the fans. And I think if he was looking to polish his halo in any sort of way and get any sort of grace back with the fans, that would actually do it.
Liam, just why do you think Rodgers hasn't said a word since he left? Do you think there's, I don't believe there's a non-disclosure agreement, because I think if there was, I think Dermot Desmond's statement, outburst, whatever way you want to put it, would have null and voided that.
Well, mate, because I think you've got a boardroom that's full of contracts.
It must work both ways.
We've got loads of contracts in the boardroom. None of them seem to be for a left winger or a new manager. But there's plenty of NDAs and statements and all that going through.
Yeah.
So why do you think Rodgers hasn't said anything then? If
NDA,
probably assume there is no NDA. Why has he not said anything? He's not said a word. He must. Is he keep his powder dry for something else?
I never know.
As you know, with Brendan Rodgers and Liam knows this all too well. He talks in riddles at the best of times. Maybe it's just Brendan just being.
But like you said, Liam, this would be. If he wanted to throw a grenade in at that board, tomorrow morning would be the ideal time to see it in the papers, wouldn't it?
It would definitely make it more interesting, and it would definitely get the fans back on his side. But I thought he was every bit as one of them as any of the rest of them. If he was sitting up that desk and just sitting there nodding, he just happened to run out of gas as far as what his talent and what his creativity and that could go to actually manage the club into something, needed in 2025. That's what I think it is. But I think he desperately wanted to be way more one of them than one of us. Why not? It's fantastic.
Well, speaking of the man being a Ben Rodgers, we'll talk about current manager, Joy. What do you make of Martin O'Neill's comments after it? With now he did get a standing ovation at the AGM because obviously he was at the table. So when he walked in, he did get a massive round of applause, as he deserves. You know, in the day he is a Celtic hero. But obviously he had to go and do the presser for the St Mirren game, so he had to go and do that. And naturally, after that breaking out at the AGM, he was going to get asked questions on it. And I thought common sense would dictate that the press officer at the conference would maybe say beforehand to everybody, he's taking no questions on the events of the AGM, but for whatever reason, they allowed it to happen. And he did say, obviously, his piece, and he said, like, it's a very sad day for Celtic. And he said Ross Desmond was entitled to say what he said. And he also brought up Jock Stein's name, Johnny, and said, I wonder what Jock Stein would think about it. Now, given that Jock Stein famously said that football without fans is nothing, and Jock Stein comes across as a guy that probably wouldn't have settled for second best and had a very strong head on his shoulders, I have a funny feeling Jock Stein would have been on the fans' side in this argument if he was put into this scenario. But what do you make of O'Neill's comments on that one, Johnny?
As you know, like most Celtic supporters, I'm pretty loath to criticise Martin O'Neill because of what he done for us and what he achieved for us, and I've been lucky enough to spend 5 minutes, and that's all it was, 5 minutes, chatting to him on a Martin O'Neill night in Lincoln 2 years ago now. And I mean, the man's just, he might even be on the same level as God, never mind a step or two down, but but I think he would have been wiser in his current position as interim manager to hold his counsel on that. And what Jock Stein would have made of it. Jock Stein, I've never met the man. Was lucky enough to see his teams playing on a few occasions, but I do know from reading a lot of the history books and from reading about him at the time, I'd love to see Jock Stein go up against that board, because I'll tell you, he would be on the fan side. I mean, Jock Stein, completely different day and age, all right? Obviously, completely different, a completely different business, football, whatever. But he took on a very strong Celtic chairman in Kelly. And Kelly was, at that time, was still interfering with actual team selections. And Jock Stein basically told him to go and chase himself. He was having nothing to do with the team selection. So I think Jock Stein would have been on the. He might not. No, Jock Stein would have been on the fan side of things, because I'm sure he would. He would be happy with the way things are football wise. If he was on the coaching staff, if he was the manager, he would be. He wouldn't let him away with the shit that goes on nowadays. And I know things are different. All right, okay, it's a completely different world. I mean, it's not even anywhere near the same stratosphere as it was back in the 60s and 70s when Jock Stein was there. But he wouldn't have been happy with how things have gone over the last few years with the transfers, selling of players, and not bringing them in, not bringing in the replacements. But he wouldn't be happy with what happened today either, because like you said, he was a big, take the fans away, you've got nothing.
That's it. You coined the phrase, he does say football without fans is nothing. So, I think he would be on our side. But I think we'll just try and draw a line for now under the AGM chat, because, we will be here literally for about 3 hours if we keep on going, because there's other stories. There is actually some positive stuff to talk about, so we will get into to talk about that. See, we've got a game with St Mirren coming up, but beforehand, let's talk about the events through the week, because a lot of our boys were involved in the events through the week in the World Cup qualifying. As I said at the top of the show, mixed fortunes for some of them. But we may as well look at it, because there's a few of our players obviously made some big headlines. Will they kick on from it? Will it affect them on the park? And obviously, I think the first one we need to start is obviously our own nation, Scotland. They qualified for the World Cup for the first time since 1998. So well done, Scotland. As I said earlier on, if they do get Vancouver, Liam's got some space on his couch for any of the Tartan Army. But yes, Kieran fucking Tierney. What a goal. What an absolute world of a goal. Unbelievable night. The quality of goals, 3 excellent goals. But the Kenny McLean one, not to detract from it, but that doesn't happen if we're not 3-2 up at that point. It's because of the circumstances of, being 3-2 down. Denmark have pushed everybody forward. Kasper Schmeichel's the only player back. If it was still deadlock, then, that goal's not happening. But Kieran Tierney, wow, you can see he had and also Liam, to bring out, get the Brendan Rodgers bell ringing, to call out something that he would bullshit is on. Kieran Tierney can play right back, evidently, which is something that we speculated, didn't we, when Kieran Tierney came back? We're like, I'm sure Tierney has played at right back for Scotland in the past because of the whole Andy Robertson conflict, and lo and behold, he comes on, plays at right back, gets the Man of the Match award, and he was even on for the full game. Scores an absolute worldie. If he's playing at left back when he comes on, he's not scoring that goal because he's on the other side of the park, but he was in the right place at the right time to run onto it and ping that one into the net. What a goal. What a goal. What was your feelings when that one hit the net? And can KT push on for this?
Oh, I mean, first of all, some fucker slide tackled me during the celebrations, ended up on the clip. I was like, referee. That boy dies. I watched it again. I thought maybe it took a deflection, but it beat him clean. It beat him clean. It was a clean strike. It was a purposeful strike. He knew exactly what he was doing and where he was putting it. And you all know that that's Kasper's weak side. And everybody that we were talking to that watched Celtic, that was watching that game, was saying, listen, we got to shoot from the outside to beat Kasper Schmeichel. And I think that showed just what it is. We got one up close. We got one for the outside. We got McTominay's goal. Do you want to talk about that as well? I'm watching that and I'm thinking, I've not seen anything like that. That's a Ronaldo type goal. That is.
I saw a thing on Facebook that said that the famous one Ronaldo scored against Juventus, apparently it was like 7'6" Ronaldo got up to when he jumped up for it. Right. Apparently McTominay was 8 foot something. His the tip of his foot was 8 foot in the air. He actually got higher air time than Ronaldo.
It was unbelievable, and the place just erupted. I mean, imagine if we'd have got McTominay. Imagine we had a board that had at one point we were sitting there with all that money in the bank. If we could have offered something to get McTominay to come to and be like that avatar, be that player for Celtic. I mean, I know I'm just fantasizing there. It's never going to happen now, but there was talk. We were all talking about it. Board wasn't he, but we were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Tierney, what a player. And you're right. The fact that Steve Clark played him on the right, I was thinking, okay, well, that's a pretty inspiring change, because I figured Ralston was coming on. So did I. And I was also, but I was pissed as well. That I hate seeing good players stay on the bench. Mm-hmm. And even when Martin O'Neill and all that, when Tierney's on the bench and sometimes arrested and all that, there's times where I think he should be on the park. Mm-hmm. And I've been critical of Tierney as well. I thought he's been really underwhelming since he came back to Celtic. But I'm really hoping that this is what makes him kick on. I think you just see it now. I've seen the interviews he's done afterwards. He's admitted he's watched that goal 20, 30 times. He says he can't stop watching it. I can't stop watching it.
That's a great goal.
So that means, okay, let's use that to go forward and move on. And I think there's going to be a buzz about the place when he's coming back into that dressing room and he's going to move forward. And yeah, absolutely shocked that, wait a minute, you can move good players around to different positions. That football players, if you're a left back, you might be able to play right back. You might be able, Chris Sutton could play centre forward, midfield and full back.
That's right.
Martin O'Neill knew that.
And the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. There's so many great players. I always use Gareth Bale as an example as well, as a guy that goes from left back to striker.
That's right.
Yeah, so that just shows you how full of shit Rodgers was at that time as well, where you can't shift and move players here. No, you had good players at your disposal, and you just didn't choose to use them because you were being stubborn. And again, it wasn't hurting the board; it hurt us, the fans that you said you're going to be one. You are one of us. So, I'm absolutely pumped to see Kieran Tierney get his groove back, get his swagger. I want to see him swagger on Saturday.
Oh, he had some swagger at that celebration. Because I've stuck up for Tierney. Yes, he's had some fitness issues since he's came back, but I think some of the sensationalist reactions to how he's played have been a bit overblown. I think it's just been indicative of the whole team's been a bit underwhelming. But Tierney's already got, I think, 4 assists to his name this season for Celtic and a goal. And it's like he's a left back. I mean, he's not going to score like 20 goals a season and get like a wide midfielder who can get loads of assists. He's a defender first and foremost. I can't think of any goals Celtic have lost this season where Tierney has been directly responsible for us. There's other people in the back line I can point to and say they were directly responsible for us losing that goal. But Tierney, I think he's other than the fitness issues.
Carter Vickers.
Yeah, Carter Vickers, I know, but in terms of what Tierney's done so far, I think he's been fine. And funny enough, a comment that I started was just, Graham Martin just saying, I'll give KT time as a world-class player, which we know. And I think that's probably part of the problem. With what we know he can do and what he did before, I think in our heads, we just expected that right away. Obviously, fitness is held him back, but hopefully, I was so delighted for it to be him that scored that goal.
Right.
Absolutely out of this world. But on the flip side, Johnny, somebody else that was playing on the night in the opposite team for Denmark, a lot of questions have been raised over Kasper Schmeichel this season. Now, the Kenny McLean goal, I'm not going to criticise him for because, again, as I said, that was odd circumstances because Denmark were chasing the game. It's deep into stoppage time. They're a man down. Every single outfield Danish player was in our half. There was literally a point seconds before that where Kasper Schmeichel stopped the ball going out for a throw-in Scotland's half to whip a cross in. He came that far up the park. So I get it why he was so far off his line. But the second goal Scotland scored, the Shankland one, that's the one that a lot of people are like, oh, that was bad. Because if Shankland doesn't touch that, that's actually going directly in. Lewis Ferguson would have scored that direct from the corner. And we have been starting to question Schmeichel. I think we saw at the start of this calendar year, the game against Rangers where we get trounced at Ibrox, the first goal from Hadji. I want to say Hadji scored, didn't he, from the edge of the area?
The long Ranger, yeah.
And it looked like it was a bit of a daisy cutter, and Schmeichel looked dead slow getting down to it. Obviously, there was a whole kerfuffle with the cup final after that shoulder injury. Was he rushed back? He's literally thrown one in the net. And since then, I mean, the semi-final against Rangers the other week, he did pull out some blinding saves, but there's been a lot of questions over him. And this isn't probably going to help him as well. As I say, that Shankland goal is actually going straight in from the corner, which no goalkeeper ever wants that on their CV, Johnny. They got beat direct from a corner. That's what very much nearly happened to Kasper on Tuesday night.
And especially when it's a low ball like that. I mean, I've seen goalkeepers beaten directly from a corner, but it's been a high ball and it's gone in at the top far corner, whichever way the corner's come in from, but not from, well, the ball basically lands in the middle of the 6-yard box, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's going to bounce into the net, and Shankland says, I'm having that. I'm just glad Shankland wasn't offside.
True, actually.
Imagine if he'd been offside, flagged offside, oh, we'd have fucking slung him up. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, the Kenny McLean goal was a great goal. I mean, let's take that away from me. He done well. He done well to win the ball, to have well, not the energy because he hadn't been on the pitch that long, I don't think. Because like I said, I watched the game with the volume down because it was a meal. But, he done well to get in a position, look up. Now, Schmeichel's in the position he's in for one reason only. He's anticipating a corner kick. And if there's going to be a corner kick, he knows he's going to have to come up for it.
Yeah.
So I think he's already, because Denmark had possession of the ball, he's already pretty much got in his head, there's a 50-50 chance of a corner kick coming up here. And he was in position for that. Or if the ball gets cleared and it gets cleared of the furthest forward Denmark player, he's in a position to retrieve it and put it back in the penalty box. Denmark did lose it. Scotland won it. McLean looked up. Yeah, I'm having that. Right. And let's face it. I mean, I was watching I think it was Danny Murphy on Talk Sport on Wednesday or Thursday, and he said he wouldn't have took a shot at goal because, if it hit the post and Schmeichel could have got back to it, humped up. I thought there wasn't any more time.
It's worth the chance. It's worth
this is the last kick of the ball, whether it goes into the net or whether it goes past the post or whatever it does. But yeah, I'm getting a bit concerned because I've also been concerned because I'm sure I've seen something last week about Schmeichel's hoping to have contract extension talks in the new year.
I saw that, yeah. I only said that in an interview with Danish Press.
No, I don't think so, Kasper. I mean, it's like you said, he had a good game against Rangers, but now has he reached the stage in his career where the good games become more the exception
Mm-hmm.
than the rule, like, you know. And apart from anything else, just a question, because I haven't even looked. Were Finland playing through the week, and did Sinisalo play at all?
Finland did. He played against. They lost in a friendly to Malta. Yes, the world superpower that's Malta, and Sinisalo was in goal for that. Aye, so he didn't have the best times. But I believe on this international break, Sinisalo also said to the Finnish press he's looking to get more game time. So that's interesting. And yeah, as you say, Schmeichel has said about he wants to sit down with the club in the new year, and it's like I don't think we should be looking to extend them beyond this year. I think 2 years is fine. Thanks for everything, Casper, and
I think Casper's. I think he's reaching the age where it should be. I'm sure when he signed for us, I'm sure he was seeing in his mind the same sort of maybe 2 years that Joe Hart had for 3 years with us, and then going out with that same sort of hero's farewell. And well, it's not going to work out that way, is it? I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, like I say, when we signed him, I thought, oh yeah, I'll take Casper for a couple of years. But I think, as Graham Tyrrell says, I think the shoulder injury has not finished his career, but it's certainly it's hastened the run up to that finishing line for Casper, I think, and that's why I think we've got to show some faith in Sinisalo, regardless of how the league's looking in January and whatnot. We've got to start showing some faith in this guy and say, look, you're the man for next season. So you're going to start playing some more games now. I think it was Terry was saying we should give Sinisalo all the League Cup games and all the European games.
Yeah, definitely.
We're not going to win the Europa League anyway. We knew that before it fucking kicked off.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything from Sinisalo so far that makes me think, I don't know about him. But at the same time, he's not quite nailed on either. So we need to have a look at him and see what's he going to be like against the likes of Roma. What's he going to be like? Well, we know he's played against Rangers. So we need to find out, do we have the replacement for Schmeichel already in the building? Or do we have to go out and find another aging internationalist who's coming towards the end of his career, that's in whoever the current manager happens to be in his notebook? We might end up with some American goalkeeper, just depending who we get for a manager. So not a great night for Casper. If he was going to have a really bad night, then that was the night we wanted him to have it. Not tomorrow night.
No, definitely not in a Celtic shirt. But Liam, I'm talking about obviously like Tierney pushing on, but see the fact now Scotland have qualified. See for the Scottish players within the Celtic squad, and we saw in 2024 in the run-in to the end of that season, James Forrest obviously played a blinder in the last 2 months of the season, coming in for the cold. Got himself in the Scotland squad for the trip to Germany, albeit Stevie Clark didn't use him for a single minute, which was a bit mad. But the guys like Forrest, who's now 34, look at this and go, this is the last chance I'm going to get to a World Cup. Does Luke McCown look at it and think, if I step up my game here, I can get to a World Cup. I can play myself into Scotland's plans. Obviously, Ralston, and we would expect to be involved because of the lack of right-back Scotland seem to have right now other than Hickey. And Tierney will be there. And then you've got, with McGregor, Cal McGregor one. This is one that's interesting. Now, he's retired, but do you think Stevie Clark might pick up the phone? And I saw some fans of our pals across the city going on about, I hope McGregor doesn't weasel his way back in there. I think whenever players come out in a national retirement, I know Scott Brown did it, it's usually the manager that instigates it. It's not a case of the player, picks up the phone and whatnot. But I wonder if, Stevie Clark will make overtures to Callum McGregor. As I say, the other Scottish players within our team, are they going to look at that as an opportunity? Because let's be real, Scotland, this is the first time since 1998 they've been at a World Cup. They don't qualify for them too often. This could be the last one for a while after 2026. It could be another dry patch after this. So there'll be a few players within our team might be looking at it and going, when I get on the park for Celtic, obviously to do the best for the team, make sure we win domestic honours, there's also that carrot as well dangling there, where if they can, really up the game and put on a performance every time, they could end up at the World Cup next year as well, Liam.
Well, I think you're going to see a few players now playing to try and get in that squad, and it depends how much the manager wants to get there on meritocracy, or he wants to keep the squad unified the way it is right now. I mean, Greg Taylor's not on this team anymore.
Greg, get the klaxon sounded. There you go.
I mean, that was Stevie Clark's golden boy at Kilmarnock. So the McGregor thing, it would have to come from him. But here's the opportunity. So if McGregor starts tearing it up and all of a sudden his form raises and all that, and Stevie Clark can't ignore him, that's a completely different thing. In fact, at that point, I think we will all be shouting for a call up or Steve Clark to do something with him to get somebody in there that can do that. If I can just shift away from the Scotland squad for a while back to Celtic, Phil.
Sure, of course.
I was really impressed with Liam Scales on the weekend. Through the
weekend. I was going to bring up the some of the other ones, but Ireland obviously had a blinding result, and Liam Scales played his part in beating Hungary and getting them a playoff spot, getting up there and just getting his head on it. He has been when we do tend to score from corners in recent seasons, Liam, usually Scales is the one on the end of it. He does seem to be a weapon in the air in the forward areas of the park. And at Ireland, they just said, fuck it, just go long. And he was there, wins the knock-on for Troy Parrott.
Well, he won two. He got the winning goal in the first game as well, the second goal against Portugal.
Yeah, the knock-on
was
for that.
Liam Scales' header that put it in right to the pass from that, that last, just punt it up in the air, give it a big long ball. And using that long ball and getting Scales in their positions. And here's another thing as well. Scales was playing at right half at that point.
I playing on the right side, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Another Brendan Rodgers thing, can't play two left-footed centre-backs and whatnot. We've seen that with Austin Trusty playing with Scales. It works, it's fine, but
yes. So we've seen all that this week that, maybe the elite manager isn't as elite as he thinks he is, and he just maybe talks a load of shite at times, and players are out there proving them wrong and saying, no, I'm a player, just get me on the pitch, put me in a spot and I'll figure out how to use what I've got to get us, in a place where we want to go. I think, like using Scales in that, like one of the things that bothers me about Celtic, and this is a Callum McGregor thing as well, is the quickness in which we take free kicks. I mean, sometimes the quickness is so bad that it's negligent that we're basically getting the ball, putting it down and hitting it 3 yards and then into a congested space, and then we pass it back. And I don't see other teams doing that as much now. And if we've got an asset like Scales that can get up there and get that first ball, it's like, the guy's fantastic in the air. He's absolutely brilliant in the air. And so start launching it to him. I saw Kieran Tierney take a long throw in for Scotland.
I've seen that, I know.
Throw in into the box. And guess what? It caused ructions. It caused panic. And a team full of internationals. You can't think we can't be firing them into the box at St. Mirren and St. Johnson and places like that when we're looking for a goal. And that goes the same way our free kicks. At some point, somebody's going to go, stop it. All right, let's flood the box. Let's fire a couple in there. I mean, we don't have to give up all defensibility, but get the big heads in there. Get the guys like a Scales, a Trusty, guys like that can either get the ball towards the net or knock it down for some of the players that are good at scrambling and getting them, Negron's perfect for a scramble. Get the ball down to him. The other thing with Ireland, see, was Ida even part of the squad?
Ida was playing against. He was on the park.
Ida
against,
had
Hungary.
He had a goal chalked up for offside against Hungary, didn't he?
And Johnny Kenny made his debut for the Irish national team during that break as well. So Johnny Kenny's in and around their plans. So Adam Ida was definitely on the park against Hungary. So they are in the playoffs now. So they're on with Northern Ireland and Wales. But just on the long throw thing, they seem to be in fashion nowadays as well. I've noticed a lot of trendy English Premier League teams have now brought back the long throw as part of their weapon. So yeah, it's in fashion again in football. Everything goes in cycles in football. and long throws seem to be back. But just a quick recap then on just some of the other players that were away on national duty and whatnot. Nygren, you mentioned him there. He played for Sweden and actually scored, but they had a shocker, a qualifying campaign. However, they have got a backdoor entrance into the playoffs through the Nations League. How that all works, I don't know. But anyway, they're in the playoffs too. Obviously, we've talked about Denmark. Now, Balakisha, yes, Michel-Ange Balakisha, he's representing DR Congo now. They beat Nigeria in a qualifier, which puts Congo into an intercontinental playoff where they will play a nation from South America or Asia to get into the World Cup. Johnny, I'm going to come to you for some World Cup trivia here. So if DR Congo qualify, this will be their first World Cup. But they've actually been to the World Cup before under a different nation name. Do you know who the DR Congo were before?
Oh, fuck, I do, yeah.
And to add a question to that and why they are infamous in World Cup history, they've got a very, very famous moment from the 1974 World Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the last time there. Was it 74? I seem to recall. So it's a Democratic Republic.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember what it was.
Zaire. They were Zaire.
Oh, yeah.
And why was Zaire infamously famous?
74 as well.
Yep. And why? But do you remember what the infamous
free kick against Brazil?
Yes.
Yes, and Brazil are waiting to take this free kick, and the guy just runs out the wall and blasts the ball back up the fucking Brazilian.
He does it like 3 times. The referee's like, no, you can't do that. Oh, it was incredible moment.
Also brought a witch doctor on the park as well. And during the game, there was a big rammy after it because the coach accused him of using voodoo during the penalties, that they were using witchcraft and magic.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. They've got an infamous history of the World Cup. But yeah, they were Zaire at that point. They're now the DR Congo. Yes, now the DR Congo. But yeah, they are in an intercontinental playoff now, but they don't know their opponents yet because the draw for that, I think, still to be done. Or maybe
while we're talking about playoffs, how many have Ireland got to play? Have they got to play 2?
2. The new format for the playoff is you play a semi-final and a final. It's how Scotland did it. I wouldn't have trusted us in a playoff, to be honest, but thank God we avoided it. But yeah, see, they've got an influence. But Balakisha could end up at the World Cup next year. Obviously, Tunisia have qualified. Tenekte, he was in their squad. USA are one of the hosts. So Trusty, who'll hope to be part of it. CCV will hope to be part of it as well. Canada as well, with Alistair Johnson, he'll be hoping to be part of it. Will our Japanese players still be with us by the time the World Cup comes about? I don't know on that one. But yeah, there's quite a lot of interest potentially at the World Cup next year with Celtic players. But I would expect a massive refresh of the squad. But before we get to talk about St Mirren, we may as well just talk briefly about it. Conflicting stories, guys. This time last week, we did a whole hour and 20-minute show talking about Wilfred Nancy, Borough Wilfred. And I said at the end of the show, I said, it would be quite funny if we do this entire show and then he's not even the Celtic manager. And conflicting stories, guys. All week, 1 minute, we've had quotes coming out from the hierarchy at Columbus Crew saying, we've not even had any contact from Celtic, so they're miffed as to why there's stories about Wilfred Nancy meeting with us in London and whatnot. They're like, we haven't given permission for him to speak. Then you're getting stories about the deal is pretty much done. He's just ironing out the finer details regarding his backroom staff, and there's a stalling point there, and then and it's just one different story after another. For the time being, Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney remain in situ. As I've been predicting a lot, I still think this is what it's going to be for the rest of the season. I don't necessarily want it to be that, but I get a funny feeling this is where it's going. But yeah, Liam, it seems as well, I think Regan had also said that Peter Grant was on a radio show through the week, and he said he thinks it'll be O'Neill and Maloney till at least January. So I'm thinking if it's going to be at least January, it's probably going to be the rest of the season at this case. But who's telling the truth here? Because it just feels like both stories can't be right, with Columbus Crew saying their part, the Scottish media speculating that, that it's almost a done deal. Both stories can't be right. Where are we in this one, Liam?
I think you're the one that's right, Phil. You've been saying this for weeks, that you've been adamant that, no, it's Maloney, both on the podcast and off and stuff. You keep saying,
yeah,
Maloney, and I tend to think you're right. With what you've seen at the AGM and all that today, that this is a board that's just got absolutely, they're doubling down just on their negativity and importance and all that, and they think that they've got this sussed. And honestly, I don't know if Shaun Maloney's a good manager or not. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. But I also want to see due diligence done where it actually looks like we're attempting to go out and see if we can get the very, very best. Who's out there that can actually do the job for us? And right now, my mind doesn't go to Shaun Maloney as that guy off the cuff. Now, will he prove me wrong, just like other people have over the years? Probably, absolutely. But right now, I'd like to at least see some interest. I'd like to see the fact that they are interviewing people. So all this bollocks about them being in London, meeting with representatives, all that. I don't think Knutsen's been. Was it Knutsen? I don't think Knutsen. He's not been interviewed. I don't think, and I don't think Nancy has. Yeah, I think they're very much just doing what the sport does, and that's sitting in their hands. And let's just wait and see how this blows over, because there might be a silver lining here. Whereas inaction for them is action, where they think they're actually doing something by not doing anything.
Yeah.
And that we're just going to take it. And right now, it doesn't matter if we take it or no. They're the daddies. They're the teachers. We need to be quiet. And if you don't like it, they'll just shut it down.
Aye, seems to be the case. And yeah, I agree with you on Maloney. We don't genuinely know. It just feels like a very underwhelming appointment. I think with the PTSD that we've got with previous managerial ones, where an interim manager twice in the last 15 years, in Neil Lennon's case, has got the gig full time. That's what I'm basically drawing my comparisons to here, where it's like, well, Celtic are very much a club that are, if you know, it's a nice smooth transition. And I always feel like Shaun Maloney fits that profile of a guy who won't rock the boat too much. Like Ange Postecoglou, he was outspoken a few times. Brendan Rodgers was certainly outspoken in the last couple of months of his tenure, particularly. I just feel like this board will want a nice, easy transition. And all I keep seeing is Maloney and O'Neill come in, and they've got a cup final coming up. They win that, the board will be like, well, can't just send them on their way now. They've won a trophy. Let's keep it going. Say there's Regan had let us know that Peter Grant somewhere. I think it was on one of the radio shows. Peter Grant's on says that he thinks. Now you'd imagine Peter Grant probably knows people within the club, given who he is. He thinks it's going to be till at least January. So I'm thinking, well, if it's going to be January window's going to open. So why would you change it then? So that's all. So my thinking is it's going to be that. And there's a good chance. I mean, Terry said it on a post-match show that we did. If it does remain the same combination to end the season, he's confident we could win a treble. He's actually confident that we could. I think I'm still think we will go on and win the title this season. Treble, don't know. But you've got to look at it that we are probably favourites to beat St Mirren in a couple of weeks, regardless of the bit of shit show that's going on right now. We should win the league. Say that happens, we win 2 trophies this season. That would be a case of Martin O'Neill, he's came back in, he's won 2 trophies, he goes off and retires into the sunset and gives his ringing endorsement to Shaun Maloney to continue the work. And the team that they'd have to build around him for me would be the key. And again, I don't trust him to do that. It would just be like, well, now it'll be Fotheringham and Strachan, because it won't be Kennedy and Strachan now, but with Fotheringham and Strachan, it'll be the backroom team. And again, it's like, I just feel like it just doesn't. It doesn't really fill me with confidence, but say we'll wait and see. The moment we don't know, we will for dance. It could be a smokescreen. It could be a appointment out of nowhere at the last minute. It might all fall through like the Eddie Howe stuff, but we are currently, Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney will lead us to Paisley tomorrow night. Well, funny enough, Johnny, before the international break, the two of them were spotted. Martin O'Neill and Fotheringham were spotted in the crowd watching St Mirren against Hibs, which at the time when I saw it, it was like, well, why is the interim manager who we expect to leave during the national break watching our next opponents? You know, the smoke signals were there at that point that he was probably going to still be in situ by the time this game came around. And yeah, he will be in the dugout tomorrow night. St Mirren, bit of a tricky one on the first day of the season, Johnny. They held us until the 88th minute, and then we got a goal for Luke McCown. They obviously held Hearts to a draw recently. They have they're not a bad wee team under Stephen Robinson. They've always been a team, and they've been in the Premiership. You always look at it and go, "Oh, St Mirren, you know, we'll dust them aside." But they make themselves difficult to beat first and foremost. And under Brendan Rodgers, I would be a bit more concerned. But at least under O'Neill and Maloney, we seem to be that wee bit more direct. But if it was still Brendan in charge, I would be super concerned about tomorrow night. But regardless, Johnny, St Mirren are still not going to make it easy for us.
No, they won't. Can I just backtrack just a second? Just on the managerial thing, because we're getting so many different stories going about, I think everybody's just pissing in the wind, and we're just getting blown back, whatever gets blown back. I don't think anybody's got a clue. And very quickly, on the Columbus Crew statement, I think there's a crucial word in there when they say we've had no official approach from anybody. Official approach. So we'll wait and see what happens in that one. On the St. Mirren one tomorrow night, yeah, like you said, they could. I think they're one of these ones where they're either very tricky and difficult to play against, or we wipe them, we blow them away. I don't think we'll blow them away tomorrow. I think we'll win. My only concern is the last time we played a team in the league, just before we played them in the cup final, we gave them a spanking 5-0.
Yeah, Aberdeen 5-1 at Pittodrie. Yes,
and then we contrived to throw the cup final away by playing absolute shit.
Yep.
But like you said, I think there's no two ways about it. I've said it before. I'm not saying Martin's the return of Martin O'Neill is the Messiah and whatnot, but there's no two ways about it. We are a far better team to watch, and we are a better team. We play better football, more exciting, more attacking. We want to go forward. I mean, it's just unrecognisable how much we want to go forward now, and we want to play the way we're facing, not playing it back to goal and that. So if it was, like you said, if it was under Brendan, and I don't want to slag Brendan Rodgers off. I know Liam's not his biggest fan, but I wanted him back as manager. It didn't work out as I'd hoped it would have done. I think it should have done. But so I don't now all of a sudden want to be Brendan Rodgers was shit camp and whatnot. We didn't get the amount of good football I expected to get under Rodgers. But I think it would have been a different story tomorrow night as to what we'll have under Martin O'Neill. We play to attack a lot more under Martin and Shaun Maloney. Whether that keeps him here till January, whether it's a good idea to keep me here till January, I don't know. I don't think the fact that we're there watching the game a couple of weeks ago is too big a surprise, if I'm being honest, because you can ask somebody to be your manager and they can say no. And then, as we've found out with Eddie Howe, the apparent death, or when push came to shove, or when we need an answer and we need a signature on that bit of fucking paper, and we didn't get it. So I think it's called covering the bases, mate, to be fair on that one. And I'm not saying that we had anybody lined up or anything, but it's just that just in case we haven't got anybody lined up, we better go and watch this game. We better keep an eye on this, because otherwise we'll get slaughtered if we don't turn up to watch them. And then we've got no idea, and we get done 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever. So I wouldn't read too much into that, but you're going to ask me. I think we're going to win. I think we'll win tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a 4 or 5-1 job. I think it'll be. You want me to give a prediction just now, or
not just now? We'll do it just as we'll finish up. But we're at a stage right now, Johnny, where I think it's just win at all costs. Just as ugly as it may be, as long as we get the victory, we're deep in the trenches here this season, so we need to just manage our way through it as best we can, and hopefully, I say this very, very tentatively, when January comes, we get some kind of improvements to the team. But hey, January's a really hard window to shop in, apparently. Also, I've got to say, Breezy has came in with the comment of the night, because I do love a good Robocop movie, a good 80s action movie. He says, we're in shambles like Robocop in the second movie, when he was dumped out of the police office, the police station in bits. That was quite shambles. I mean, it could be worse. We could also be Alex Murphy in the first film, when he gets shot to bits as well. He was an absolute shambles at that point too.
Never seen
it at that stage. Oh, I love a good 80s action flick, but yeah, that's a good one. Good reference. So well done, Breezy. You won the comment of the night, mate. But yeah, Liam says St Mirren 8 o'clock tomorrow night. They will make it tough for us. But what's your vibe going into this one, mate?
I think it's the vibe that's in the team. I think the vibe is you're seeing players coming back that are now got an extra swagger in their step because they are going to a World Cup. So there's Balakwisha, Tonetke, and our boy. You know, we got Ralston, and we got our hero. Our hero's got his swagger back, and I think now, okay. And I think sometimes there's when you want to be a leader and you really want to step up, I think you may have been waiting for that one big game for him to sort of stand up. And it was for Scotland, mind you, but I think it's going to carry over into a Celtic game this year as well too. So I think you've got Kieran Tierney coming back, an absolute rock star, and I think that sort of buzz, I think, is going to engage the team. You know, you've got the country which the team plays in into a World Cup, and I'm hoping that that type of momentum, that energy, that vibe is just going to permeate through the entire team. You know, that's why it starts Sinisalo.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the talking points. I mean, I think he'll probably stick with Schmeichel, but I want to see Sinisalo getting some game time, because from what I've seen, we've all said the same thing, guys. From what we've seen of Sinisalo, there's nothing to worry you for him to get more games, but I don't know, man. I think it's time we start phasing him in, because there's a good chance that with him making noise about, you know, he wants to get more football, yeah, he could end up slipping away, and in a couple of years' time, he could be playing for another team in a bigger league, and then you're like, we let that one slip away, you know?
You get Shea Given vibes for Sinisalo, right?
I said that last week, didn't I?
Yeah, you said that, Johnny. Yes, yeah.
Right. What do you, just quickly on this one, Liam, as well, the story about, again, just all these conflicting stories about Wilfred Nancy and the reasons why it's not happened yet. One of the stories that I saw doing the rounds, and again, I think this is nonsense, and again, but the way the Celtic board operate, who knows? The reason why they haven't appointed yet is because the next 3 games are such crucial ones, and they're tough away fixtures in particular. We've got Mirren away, Hibs away next Sunday, and in between we've got Feyenoord in the Europa League, which for the Europa League is what it is right now.
Right.
And they're like, that's why they want to get these games out of the way before bringing anybody in. And I'm like, but a new manager is going to have to visit St Mirren and Hibs at some point in his managerial career at Celtic. If you can't trust them now, when can you trust them? So to me, I was like, I don't know if I buy that story at all. But again, it's one of the many theories doing the rounds why they haven't appointed anybody yet. And I'm like, it's not really a ringing endorsement of your new manager, but it's like, nah, we can't bring him in just yet because we're a bit worried about St Mirren and Hibs in the next week. And it's like, well, he's going to have to manage against them at some point. So to me, I was like, I can't surely be the logic behind this one. To me, I agree with you. I don't think the interviews that have been reported have actually happened. I'm more inclined to agree with you, Liam, on that one.
I don't think they've had those meetings yet. And yeah, you're right. Those are big games. I think we just have to take them as we can. Just going back to the goalie thing, if it's not now, when do we see Sinisalo? Because right now it's like, okay, he's played a game. He's played a game for Finland, so he's not coming in completely cold. Schmeichel, it might be good for him just to step back and have a wee look before we commit to any another contract to that. Because as Johnny says, I think we'll lose that boy. And from everything I've seen from him last year, I think we should move in ahead, and I don't think it's a risk. We got big games coming up. I think we even lost another player during the break. We lost Colby Donovan.
Colby Donovan went off injured, that's right. Celtic apparently are, I think the Scotland medical team did scans with him and said it wasn't as bad as first feared, but Celtic apparently are going to get their own scans done as well to see where he is, because, but hey, we've now discovered that Kieran Tierney can play it right back as well, so it's not all doom and gloom. Thanks to Steve Clarke for that one, Liam.
I mean, what about the rumours of Steve Clarke coming as well? I was thought that was going to be...
Somebody in the chat said that earlier on, said they thought he was lined up, but because Scotland had now qualified for the World Cup, Steve Clarke wouldn't work out well for Celtic, because we are always expected to be on the front foot, and his style of play would not lend itself to Celtic. It works for Scotland, and it worked at Kilmarnock because, you know, they are perceived as underdog teams in majority of fixtures they play, so it works to sit in, hit on the counter. He happens to be blessed right now with the fact that Scotland's midfield is actually really, really good. Forward line and defensive line, not as good, but in the midfield, Scotland have got some really good talent there. But yeah, Steve Clarke would be a terrible appointment for Celtic. He's fine at Scotland right now. I think it works at that level because of the expectations for Scotland. But I think if he was Celtic, if they were ever considering lining him up, I think it would be an absolute disaster because just the style of play.
Just to throw it out there as well, like, you know, talking about our neighbours and that as well, they lost 3 players to long-term injuries, 2 of them fullbacks, Suter and then Derek Cornelius.
Is Suter's injury that bad? Aye.
He's going to be, and then same with Derek Cornelius, the Canadian.
Right, okay.
Who's came in and looked all right for them, but he looks like he could be gone for the season as well.
For the season? Fuck yeah.
Fuck. That is a blow for them. So good. That's good news for them. But it's Hearts that we need to start seeing some injuries for. They're the ones that need to start getting some. That Braga, hopefully he gets crocked. That will help us out a wee bit. And fingers crossed, Aberdeen, who seem a bit resurgent right now, can maybe get a result against them on Sunday. Because we're now in a position where we're relying on teams taking points off Hearts. What a time to be alive. But anyway, before we go, we'll obviously do our predictions. So Johnny, what do you think the score will be tomorrow night in Paisley?
I said I don't think it's going to be a runaway victory. I think it's going to be 2-0.
2-0. Routine 2-0. That's absolutely fine as long as they get the points on the board.
Although I am a bit concerned because the same they've got couple of big lads up front, haven't they? And they look a bit tasty whenever on the few occasions that I have seen them. Like they do look a bit tasty. But I'm going to go 2-0.
Yeah, I'll probably stick with 2-0 as well. Just a routine, run of the mill, no frills, 2-0 victory will do for me. Just get the job done, get in there, get out of there, 3 points, and get them on the board, and then say, hopefully Aberdeen can do us a favour on Sunday. Liam, what do you think?
3-0, Tierney.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Tierney, keep it going. Good stuff.
There's other wee World Cup heroes coming back to show what they can do. I think we'll play well. I think the vibe will be good. Despite what's going on behind the scenes, I don't think that's going to affect any of them. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the stands.
That'll be vocal, yeah. There'll be
vocal. And I think we've got to get used to that there is going to be disruption because I can only see this getting worse. And it has every right to. It has every right to amplify now because, as other people I've seen in tweets and all that, they've declared war. They not only do they not like us, they don't want us. And careful what you wish for. Those flashy suits and ties don't pay for themselves. Well, they don't pay.
They definitely do not. Before we go then to some quick predictions from the chat. So Breezy saying 4-0. Kenrick Larson, is that what we're calling Johnny Kenny now? Kenrick Larson.
I like
Brief. Jim C 2-0. Smell the Glove says 2-1. Chris Murray saying 3-1. Bravo says 5-1. Love Street Miracle. AR says 2-1. No frills victory. 420 says 4-0. Typhoon McFostery 5-0. Kev 1 says 3. So all resounding victories for Celtic. So yeah, fingers crossed that's what we're talking about tomorrow night. Terry will be on for a late night post-match tomorrow because it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. So yeah, it'll finish about 9:45, round about there. So there will be a post-match show tomorrow night. He's said a few times in the build-up to this will really test him, this one. A Saturday night. Oh, God. It's not even a school night, so we'll see how Terry is for that tomorrow night. Hopefully, it's a good victory for him to talk about. And, yeah, we shall head off. It's been another hour and 20 minutes Friday feeling. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. And, as always, sack the board, I guess is the call now. So, yep, we're going to see it ramp up now for the next for the foreseeable future. And when you see, hopefully it doesn't distract the team on the park and they just keep getting those wins. So, Celtic, get the job done tomorrow, and we'll be back for the post match tomorrow night. Catch you later, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.